Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Carlson with Café on Tampa. As you all know, we've been trying to meet in person, and we can't because of the virus that's out there right now. So we're making the best of it while getting access to great information and great speakers throughout, and building a library of videos so people can learn more about the community. I'm really proud today to have Duncan McClellan, who's a famous artist, not just in Tampa Bay, but worldwide, in the glass that he blows and etches, and also the gallery that he has and all the other things that he does. I will let him go ahead and explain himself to you. By the way, we've been trying to get Duncan in person, and it's hard because he lives in St. Pete. It's been hard trying to get him across the bay early in the morning, but we're very happy to have him now, and you can see his gallery in the background. Duncan, tell us about yourself.
Good afternoon, Bill. Thanks for having me on, and hello, everybody. My name's Duncan McClellan. I'm one of the artists in our gallery. We have an unusual complex here. It's a combination of both a full gallery, internationally known, as well as a 501c3 educational charity. And we have some pretty spectacular grounds. The complex basically is based on education, educating our customers, educating the kids in the community. And it's been something that we've been doing since I've been started in glass about 35 years ago.
Duncan, so you wanted to have a place where you could blow glass, which requires high temperatures, and then you also wanted to be able to live in the same place and have a gallery. So tell us how that works. How do you separate all that within one location?
Well, I think all of us are a collection of all the things we ever wanted to do. I wanted to be a farmer as a kid. I went to restaurant school. I worked for a circus. And I became an artist and have been doing that professionally for about 35 years. And so this kind of encapsulates all of those interests that I have. And it's an unusual place. People have really enjoyed coming here. And one of the things I'm really proud of, even though we're off the beaten track, we've been #1 in TripAdvisor for all things to do in St. Pete for a number of years.
So tell us, how did you find that location?
I took several years. I was looking for a particular kind of building. I wanted something that to me looked like a church. Actually, I was trying to find a church. I wanted enough land that I could farm just in case the glass didn't work out, I could have my fruit trees. And I wanted a place that eventually I could build a hot shop, and we have. So we do all types of manufacturing in there.
So you ended up in an area that has a lot of warehouses, and then one day you said former Mayor Rick Baker came and sat down with you at your table. Tell us that story.
Well, initially, I had been looking for several years, and friends of mine, Catherine Woods and Mark Ailing, one of the founders of the Warehouse Arts District, mentioned this particular building. So it took me a while to convince the owner to sell it to me. And finally I did, and we started the process, and Rick Baker came over to see the place and sat down at a table and told me that I had to start the Warehouse Arts District. And I looked at him and I said, Mr. Baker, I just put every penny I could borrow and every penny I had into this. Why in hell do I have to start this? And what is the Warehouse Arts District? And he said, I just made up the name. He said, all you have to do is identify the area, start talking to the other artists, and put together something that will become a real center. And I said, look, I just started this. How can I do that as well? And he said, look, you put every penny in. You need an opportunity to eventually recoup that. And by starting the Warehouse Arts District, you will bring attention to that area.
So then along the way, you mentioned Mark Ailing, Mark and his wife Carrie and 50 or so other artists with Rob Capusta's help and others came in and started the Arts Exchange. Tell us about all the things that are happening around where you are that weren't there 10 years ago.
It's amazing. When we first identified the Warehouse Arts District, there were only a few artists in it, but more and more artists have moved in. Then there have been some bigger projects. After starting the Warehouse Arts District, as you mentioned, Rob Capusta was very important, as Mark Ailing was, in getting that started. They created the Art Exchange because one of the problems in gentrifying a neighborhood or making it for artists is that they get priced out very quickly and there's no space for them. So the Art Exchange basically are affordable rents for artists so that there is that center of art that people can grow to. Since that time, other big projects have moved in, like the factory. We have some really good neighbors, the Behars, that are starting a whole project that'll be about 4 blocks long that will center all about the arts. And in fact, the Art Alliance of St. Petersburg will be moving there. We have coffee shops that are moving in, brewery, many different galleries, and it will bring more of a national and international viewing to this community.
One of the things that I talk about, people say, well, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there were artists in Ybor, and you used to work in Tampa also, but there were artists in Ybor, and so then there was gentrification, and the artists moved out, and some of them moved, like you moved to St. Pete, Central Avenue in St. Pete had a bunch of artists. Eventually, a bunch of them ended up moving to the Warehouse Arts District, and so people say, well, the artists are the first round in gentrification. It seems to me that people want to live and work near art, and aren't you a good example of that with everybody moving in around you?
Exactly. Well, one of the things the city did is that they allowed us to live, work, and show in our community. So actually the art gallery and the whole complex is my home and my wife's home, Irene. So we have the opportunity to live here because it's very difficult for an artist to be able to afford a separate studio space, a separate gallery space to sell the work, and a separate living space.
And you've got this fantastic courtyard outside. Maybe you can show us before we cut off, but you've really developed that into a great meeting venue, but it's full of art. It's a great showcase of what the arts can do.
Well, it's part of my love. I love the gardening end of it as well. And right now, and it kills me because not many people are seeing it, but we have about 400 orchids in bloom, all in the trees. And so it's my favorite time of year because all of the orchids start blooming.
And throughout your gallery, we can see just a small section of it right now behind you. But your gallery not only highlights some of your work, but you actually have great artists from all over the world there, right?
Well, yeah, very much so. I'm very proud of our artists. We have over 100 internationally known artists. The show that you see behind us is Ben Eccles and Kathy Elliott from Australia, Kevin Gordon from Australia as well. And they even flew in for the weekend to do demonstrations and lectures. Unfortunately, they came in, did one event and had to leave because of the virus. Timothy Stover's in the show, as well as Dorothy Hafner. And they're all renowned artists, and we're really proud to be able to bring this to our Bay Area.
And you have, tell us about the Hotshot. How many ovens do you have there? How do you talk about that?
Well, the Hotshot was the building was purchased a couple of years after the gallery became available next door. And you really need a place to educate people on the art, because not everybody is that familiar with glass itself. They're fascinated, but they haven't had the opportunity to really see these master artists work. And so we provide a space and bleachers and a way for the public to view very prominent artists demonstrating, talking about their work, and teaching. And it's not only a working facility, but it also has this educational part to it. That's, I think.
Tell us more about that. You actually have a mobile hop shop, and I think you take it to schools, and you were just telling me some of the kids that you interact with that you think are potential artists have shortages of food and other supplies right now. So tell us about what you're doing there.
Well, after opening the gallery, and it's somewhat of an outgrowth of everything that we had been doing all along, but decided to go for a 501c3 status with the IRS because we were doing more and more in the community. And my wife and I were funding it, and quite honestly, we were running out of money. Because the needs are so much greater than what we could do on ourselves, and other people wanted to help us. We have a mobile unit that goes into schools that we teach about 400 to 700 kids a day. Now, obviously, you can't teach them how to blow glass, but we use the hot glass to get their attention, to show them how an artist uses physics or algebra to figure out a price of what a piece has to sell for, or geometry to figure out how that pattern's going to wrap around a whole piece. So we use glass to get their attention, to show them, and hopefully get that aha moment with them, that they realize that anything that they get interested in, they're going to need everything that they're studying in school right now. I had an aha moment when I was a young kid, and I had a problem with decimals until my parents put it into dollars and cents, and then a decimal made perfect sense to me. And that's the aha moment that we're trying to give these kids. And that's just one facet. We also do a program where they come over here. They get about a half-hour tour of the galleries to show the different techniques of what different artists, how they use different techniques. And I got to tell you, one of the most exciting things for us is when we do a tour. And then after the tour, we'll have kids ask about a particular piece, and they will be able to tell me how that is made. So they're thinking through the whole process, and they're figuring out how it's done. And that's what art does. It teaches the problem solving. It teaches how do we get from this point to that point.
I'll tell you, I had my two little ones at the Gasparilla Art Festival, and when they saw your mobile hot shop, I had to pull them away from it because they were so interested in it. Hey, we have a bunch of people watching live, as is per Café con Tampa style. If you have any questions, post them underneath the comments, and I'll try to read them and bring them in. But Duncan, what would be your advice? You've mentored a lot of artists and really helped grow the arts industry in St. Pete and Tampa. What would be your advice to artists or people who think they have the potential to be artists?
Well, you've got to wear a ton of different hats. If you want to get your artwork out there, even if you are represented by galleries, you have to wear every hat. You need to be the marketer. You need to be the maker. You need to make sure that you can get great photographs. And often you have to do that yourself sometimes. So you have to be able to market yourself, because if you can be the greatest artist, but if nobody knows about you and nobody's seen the work, how are you going to get it out there? So that's a very important aspect that some colleges are getting it. They're making it part of the curriculum to teach these artists that no, you don't have to just go to academia to continue working in the arts. You can be a working artist, but you have to learn this as well. So there is a certain amount of business.
I take people on tours there all the time. Thank you for allowing me to do that. But your wife is always there. She's an important part of your business. How important is it to have a business partner and or life partner who can help you to grow your business of the art?
I got to tell you, Irene has been a godsend. I have a great team, but she fit into the team so well with things that I was lacking that she's been able to bring forward. That I'm so lucky to have her here. Plus, she's a far more pleasant person than I am. And she looks better too.
Yeah, we should let her say hi at some point. Tell us about the art that you have around you and behind you. How many artists do you have on show right now?
We show about 100 artists, 105 artists. On our website, dmglass.com, you can see all of them. And we're working on some new technology because obviously the world's been turned upside down this past month. And ways of doing things in the past have to change. So we're coming up with new technologies where the work that we can show clients, we can import into their own home virtually. So we're working on that kind of programming. We're working on being able to educate outside, utilizing some new film techniques. So we're working on all of that. Presently, we are showing the work online. People can make appointments. We schedule the appointments very tightly. When we do get open and we're able to do that, we already are doing enhanced sanitation. We're an open air gallery, which I think is a great, I never thought having open doors, 14 foot ceilings would be an advantage, but we're really open air. And I think that will, going forward, be something that will make people feel a bit more comfortable.
And the great thing is you get to live there every day. I'm so jealous. One of the greatest parts of the art gallery is your living room, and then you can go outside the patio, which is the park outside. Just beautiful everywhere. Lots of great art.
I got to tell you, that is a great joy of living here. When we were having big events almost every night, that can get a little wearing, but I really enjoy this place a lot.
Hey, so you spent some time in Tampa, and then you spent a lot of time growing the arts community in St. Pete. What lessons or ideas would you have for Tampa in growing its arts community now?
Well, you need something that will galvanize people around something. I'm lucky because of the medium that I am working in is exciting. People want to see it. And so that did bring people to the area. One of the things that interests me is going to help other communities around the country to develop arts communities. That would be something very interesting for me to do in the future. Actually, we've been working on some of those things already. But the thing that I would say is get that momentum going by having a cluster. Once you get the cluster, the other things grow around it. A perfect example was the way Chattanooga built their arts community. Initially, the city gave, for very little money, I think $1, a couple of buildings to a couple of different artists. And they started and rehabbing. Now, the next group of artists they came in, they didn't get it for $1. They got a very cheap price, but they didn't get it for $1. And then they built that out. And then the next ring came in. And then you have a whole community, and it's already tipped at that point, because you get this cluster coming in. You can create this this space and this idea.
Duncan, I'll and if there are no questions, I'll wrap up here in a couple minutes. But Duncan, you have this big vision, and we barely touched on it. You talked about the philanthropic side, about the teaching side, helping aspiring artists, providing a showcase, talked about the business of art, talked about the creation of the Warehouse Arts District. But you have a really big vision for the glass art, what do you call the art glass industry, or glass art industry? And you have a vertically integrated vision. You would like to see the raw material producers to be in St. Petersburg or Tampa Bay. You'd like to see more glass artists in Tampa Bay. And so all this is part of your effort to try to build a robust industry. And in part, you kind of looked at Seattle, but I think you want to go even farther beyond that. I'll stop putting words in your mouth and let you talk.
Well, I don't think it would be hard to go beyond Seattle. That is Mecca of glass in the United States. However, I wanted to be the Southeast version down here, and we have it already between the Imagine moving in, the Chihuly here, a number of individual glass studios like Zen, some of our emerging artists that have residencies, that had residencies with DMG, ended up moving here, building studios. So we have this synergy going on that I think, as well as other galleries that are featuring glass, that my goal is to get this advertised nationally and internationally to create arts tourism. And unfortunately, this past month, we've had 2 cancellations of 2 large groups that were coming from around the country to book hotel rooms, eat in restaurants, 3 days of events here, because we came together and created the Glass Coast Weekend, that all the different venues would be having lectures, demonstrations, special exhibitions to create this momentum of having groups come from other parts of the country to visit us, to see all the arts in St. Petersburg, and to take advantage of the, particularly why they're here, the glass.
Great. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, other than thank you, Bill, for doing this, hosting this. It's a great way of getting the information out to people. And I want people to come visit us. Go look us up online, dmglass.com, and look for DMG School Project at the next venue when we all can be together again.
Yeah, and even if you're not interested in glass art, you can't help but be inspired by Duncan and the art that he has around. It's just amazing the things that people are able to do there, especially in his courtyard. Thank you so much, and we hope to have you in person sometime at Café on Tampa too. Thank you. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you, Bill.